lost interest in a girl because of her hoe face. I male have this friend. She's nice looking, outgoing, funny. We met in school and hit it off as friends. We hung out together or as a group, or me and my girlfriend with her and her boyfriend a few times a week. We have never really been single at the same time, so I never really noticed her romantically. I mean, I noticed she was attractive, but never thought of her romantically. I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend, and a few months later she broke up with her boyfriend. Well, because most of our friends are paired off at a time, we ended up hanging out like 4 days a week. I wasn't aware I was starting to catch feelings for this girl until someone pointed out I stopped dating and approaching other women. It really hit home when she went on a few different dates and I noticed I was jealous. So I sat her down and had a chat. Told her I have noticed recently I was becoming interested in her. I absolutely hated seeing her go on dates with other guys and wanted to see if us dating would be as cool as our friendship so far. First, she smiled. Big, happy, excited eyes. Then something happened. Her smile turned unsure. She explained she had thought of it as well and is interested in giving it a try, but not to the end of the summer. Confused, I asked why the end of the summer. She explained she was in her hoe phase, her words, and she wanted to have a summer of fun before she settled down. The rest of that day was awkward. I cut things short. When she asked, I told her we were fine. My pride was bruised a bit and I was feeling disappointed. But not to worry, we are definitely still friends. I have to admit, the second she chose potentially random hookups and getting run through for the summer over a relationship, all romantic feelings died. I wasn't mad at her. She did nothing wrong. But the way I viewed her had changed. She was forever in the friend zone for me. I took a few days, put my big boy pants on, and we started hanging out again. But it was different. I only saw her as a friend, and I only was interested in seeing her every now and again, not all the time like before. I started dating other girls again. I had no hard feelings. I genuinely enjoyed being around her, only like before when we both had partners. Anyway, one night we were out as a group. We all had a few drinks, and she says, "Hey, good news. Summer is almost over." Oblivious to what she meant till later I say, "That sucks. I love summer." Then I got distracted by other conversations being had. I did notice she was cold towards me the rest of the night. October rolls around. She wants to do lunch, just her and I. We meet up, having a great talk. We talked about our summer. She used this to steer the conversation to us. She wanted to let me know she was ready to settle into a relationship and wanted to go back to our earlier conversation. I told her it's cool. I valued our friendship and think we should stay just that, friends. She wanted to know what's changed and would not let it go. So I had to be honest. I told her that her choice to put me on the back burner for hot girl summer was hurtful, and I feel like if she actually liked me, she would have wanted to be in a relationship with me. She said she knew we would be the real thing, and she needed to get through her hoe phase to give us an honest shot. I let her know the fact she felt we could have been something, and she still chose potentially to get run through by a bunch of strangers instead of starting something real. Tells me she doesn't feel about me the way she thinks she does. I accept that, and stayed friends with her with no hard feelings. But the second she chose to put me on the back burner, I lost all romantic feelings for her. Forever. Because it feels like she was shopping around all summer and settled on me. And I am nobody's backup plan. She got mad, stopped talking to me. Our friends think I should apologize and give her a chance. But those feelings just aren't there. What do you think? Am I the a-hole? I should probably add a timeline. This was last summer. We have seen each other around, but she avoids me if she can. The reason I wrote this now is because a mutual friend and I were talking about last summer. How the fall went, then pointed out she is still single and asked me recently if I have/would change my mind. I don't think they were asking for her because they said she still thinks I'm an ass. Now for the top comments. Because it feels like she was shopping around all summer and settled on me, and I am nobody's backup plan. Just explain it like this and no one reasonable will have an issue. I asked her out and she said no. Until after summer, then she said yes, but I already moved on. There isn't such a thing as reserving a person for a relationship. Simple as, person do whatever they want. If you rejected them but said maybe won't reject you later, yeah, that's still a rejection. This ain't a restaurant or a doctor's appointment. Who does she think she is? Why would she think he would just be available at the end of the summer and open as if nothing at all had changed? Because she is either selfish as hell and thus unaware of anyone's feelings but hers, or she pegged him for a simp who would be waiting in the wings for her like a nice doggy. Possibly both. Respectfully, she put you on the back burner for summer flings and you decided not to wait for her to come around. Not the a-hole. I would consider adding more distance, as she had clearly little regard for you and your feelings. It's not even about the hoe phase or summer fling specifically. It's the claim she really liked him too, but still put him on a back burner. If she just said she wasn't sure and wasn't looking for anything serious right now anyways, things could have turned out differently. If like OP, she started feeling jealous after seeing him date others. But she basically said, I like you too. Here is a timeline of when we will start a relationship based on my own selfish desires. See you then. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my girlfriend's girls trip? Alright, I, 27 male, need some outside perspective. My girlfriend Sarah, 25 female, and I have been together for 3 years. Recently, I won a bet on stake and ended up with a decent chunk of spare cash. Naturally, I was pretty stoked about it. Been thinking about putting it towards something fun or maybe even a small getaway for the two of us. But here's the thing. Sarah found out about my winnings, and now she wants me to pay for her upcoming girls' trip with her friends. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Sarah and I want her to have fun with her friends. But I'm feeling kinda weird about using my winnings for something that doesn't involve me at all. I suggested that she could save up for a trip, or maybe we could split the cost, but she wasn't having any of it. She thinks I'm being selfish, and that since we're a couple, my money should be our money, especially since it was extra cash from a bet. I see her point, but I also feel like I earned it and should have a say in how it's spent. Sarah's friends are backing her up, saying I'm being a jerk for not wanting to support her. I'm starting to wonder if I'm in the wrong here. I do want her to have a good time, but I also don't want to feel like I'm just a bank. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay for my girlfriend's girls' trip? Not the a-hole. So your money is our money. What about her money? Ask her if she will fork out for a boys' trip for you. I second this motion. Just say you're leaving me a little shortchanged on a trip I was planning. Can you help me out after? See what reaction you get then. But not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She certainly is though. You guys aren't married. She's a big girl. If you want, you could give her a little spending money. But she's super entitled. Red flag. Be careful. Thank you. I'll heed this warning. Yeah, absolute red flag. I wonder if she wanted a chunk of money, would she give it all to you to spend on a holiday with the boys that in no way involves her? I suspect not. And it would be unreasonable for you to expect that. And it sounds like her friends are either being dishonest with her or are also a-holes. Stand firm, tell her it's a no and calmly explain why. Her reaction to this will ultimately show you who she is. Why Sarah's friends are backing her up. Why they are made aware of your financial disagreement. It's the fact that she got all her friends to defend her that's the red flag for me. If you have a dispute with your spouse, that gets handled between the two of you. Sure, you might vent to a friend about the details and get their opinion. But saying, all my friends think you're wrong, is just manipulation. She's not giving any heed or understanding to his argument, and is just trying to guilt-trip him to get her way. Why not ask if she's willing to support the both of them while he quits working to follow his dreams of basket weaving? It's all our money, right? Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to split the hotel cost after she invited her friends without telling me? So I recently took my girlfriend Emily on a weekend trip to a popular beach town. I booked a nice hotel room for us to enjoy a romantic getaway. Everything was great until the second night when Emily invited her two friends, Lara and Kate, to hang out with us. She didn't tell me they were coming, and I was a bit surprised but went along with it. Things got even more awkward when they decided to crash in our hotel room because they didn't want to pay for their own. I was annoyed, but didn't want to cause a scene. The room was crammed with 4 people, and it definitely wasn't the romantic getaway I had planned. The next morning, I told Emily I wasn't comfortable with her friends staying for free and that I felt they should chip in for the room. Emily got defensive and said it was rude to ask them for money since they're her friends. I argued that it wasn't fair for me to cover the entire cost when I only planned for the two of us, and she invited them without consulting me. Emily eventually asked Lara and Kate if they could help with the cost. They were taken aback but agreed reluctantly. However, Emily was still upset with me, saying I embarrassed her in front of her friends and that I should have just let it go. When we got back home, Emily told our mutual friends what happened, and now some of them think I was being unreasonable and cheap. Others think I had a point and that Emily should have asked before inviting her friends to stay. Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend and her friends to split the hotel cost after they crashed our romantic getaway? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole, but your girlfriend seems to suck. It's abnormal to invite friends on a couple's holiday, and even worse to expect them to be able to share your room. Exactly. And what's worse is her getting upset and blaming me, when I think it should be the other way around. 100%. Flip the script. How entitled would you feel if you brought your boys over to crash the romantic weekend she planned and paid for? You would probably never consider doing such a thing. Now think, she's actually getting upset at you? It's so selfish and rude of her, and so disrespectful to you. If she feels she's able to do this, take a look at what else you are subsidizing. Drinks, dinners for other friends too? Not a-hole. From what you said, you were the one paying for this hotel room, not your girlfriend. Lara and Kate aren't your friends, they're Emily's. So they're getting to stay in a hotel room off of your dime, not hers. I'd personally feel super uncomfortable sharing a hotel room with the friends of my girlfriend when my intention and plan was to just have a romantic time with my girlfriend. I'm not sure how long you've been dating, but frankly, Emily's decision to invite them without consulting you and subsequent decisions and reactions to them staying in the hotel room with you were disrespectful. She's more concerned about being embarrassed, a situation she put herself in, than she is you not being taken advantage of. I don't want to suggest breaking up, but keep her behavior and reaction in mind for the future. Indeed, and I don't know if it's right, but I think I should be the one who should be a little upset with her for ruining our date and not the other way around. You should be more than a little upset. You planned a romantic getaway. Why did she invite her friends? I am guessing she is not into you. Either that or she is an immature party girl. Either way, probably time to move on. I mean, usually she is very helpful, kind and caring, compassionate towards me, so I think she is into me. This is, you can say, one-off instance, but still, like you guys said, it's not my fault. You guys are great. Thank you all for your advice though. But she sure did try to turn it all around you, didn't she? She was being helpful, kind and caring to her friends, not you. She straight up took advantage of your kindness. I almost feel like you weren't enough. So she invited her friends without asking you to have a better time herself. Her behavior would concern me greatly if I were you. Yeah, I'm keeping this in my mind, and it might help me to make that decision later with much weightage. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-fiancé's affair partner's wife about their relationship? So, a few years back, my 40 male fiancé, 39 female, and I were talking on the phone. She was a flight attendant and not home very often, and she brought up breaking up because I deserved someone who could be there for me. I didn't want to, but after a few days, I agreed to split up because it was apparent that this is what she wanted and was on the way out already. It broke my heart. A few months later, she called me to talk, asked if I was seeing someone. I had started talking to someone, and she said she was getting to know someone as well. Turns out, it was a male flight attendant she worked with. A few months before we split up, I had confronted her about this coworker. As soon as they met, they started going out to eat, getting drinks, scheduling flights together. She'd talk about him all the time, etc. I'm normally not a jealous man, but I felt like there was something going on there. When she told me she was with him, I lost it. I confronted him, and he said he knew nothing about me, and that they had began getting to know one another the same day that she insinuated that we split up. How ironic. So I asked her for the truth, and she continues feeding me lies. She says they're not together, just getting to know one another. Nothing happened before we split up, etc. BS. Anyway, I catch her in a number of lies, including the fact that the guy is still currently married. I gave her an opportunity to tell me the truth, and she again lies to me. Frustrated, I contact the guy's wife and tell her all about the situation. The wife says that it all makes sense now. Her husband was getting called up for unexpected flights quite a lot recently and was withdrawing hundreds of dollars each time. She wondered what it was all about, but now she knew. Her husband was cheating on her with my now ex-fiancé, who was apparently living a double life as a prostitute. Turns out, they were only getting to know each other's anatomy, and she was getting to know others as well. My ex flipped out on me. The wife filed for divorce and lots of painful revelations were made, including the fact that she was never faithful to me and was moonlighting as a sex worker. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Cheaters deserve to be exposed. It's one of the worst things you can do to someone you supposedly love. If the relationship is bad, leave before you go looking for someone else. Don't even monkey branch. Actions have outcomes. Hope they enjoy the outcomes of their actions. I also hope the wife reported her soon-to-be ex to HR. I agree. I legit loved her up until these revelations, so it was hard to deal with. Not the a-hole. Yikes. It sounds like you dodged a bullet and saved a man's wife as well. I agree. I found out she was cheating on me with a pilot the entire time we were together. Had a fairly lucrative side gig, as I mentioned in my post, etc. But yeah, definitely dodged a bullet. Funny thing is, she was the one who pursued me initially, said she wanted to date with a purpose. I bought her an engagement ring, etc., but she kept pushing off planning for the wedding. It really sucked, but I'm glad I didn't marry her, knowing what I know now. If someone says they want to date with a purpose, it usually means that they habitually don't date with a purpose. And this is a new goal because they are tired of fooling around. But this is a new goal, and old habits die hard. Definitely not the a-hole. I hope both you and the guy's wife got STI tests done. Your ex is literally a garden tool. Be happy you found all this out and that you did not marry that person. Also, hope you got the ring back. Block her everywhere and never have contact again. Also, don't get serious with people you rarely see in person. That's a recipe for disaster. Fortunately, I did get tested and was clean. Completely agree with you, long distance isn't good for a relationship. Man, you're so lucky you didn't get married and have kids together. She was using you and would have continued to do so. I completely agree. Just before this, I sold a house and bought/get a car to come to the airport in when she visited. She got me on that one. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my vegan sister after she threw away my dog and I's food? So a few weeks ago, my sister broke up with a longtime boyfriend of 3 years. They lived together, so I opened my home to her and let her stay until she got back on her feet. She's a hardcore vegan, and while I don't care about her dietary choices, I do not believe she should push it on others the way she does so heavily. So anyways, a few days into her staying at my home, I got home from work to see my fridge was almost empty. I thought maybe she had cleaned the fridge for me, but just 2 days ago I went shopping and bought things like bacon, steak, etc. to make my lunches. I went into her room and I asked her what happened to all my food. I figured it was just some sort of mistake, but she informed me that she purposefully cleansed my life of all the dead animals I eat in the street. At first, I didn't even believe it, but then it spiraled into a huge argument where she slammed the door in my face. In my own home. I called my mother to let her know what was going on and to get her opinion, where I ended up getting a scolding for how I treated my sister, and how I should know she is going through a lot. At that point, I just hung up because obviously I'm not going to be happy when $50 worth of food is just thrown out for no good reason. Despite this, I figured I would appease my other family members and let her stay, but I let her know she was on thin ice with me. The following day, I fed my dog and went to work. I told her she was not to touch any of my belongings or throw anything away or I would kick her out. She protested, but I told her I was serious and left. When I returned home, my dog's bowl was empty, so I went to refill it in case he was hungry again later on. When I go to get the food, it's gone. I barged into her room and asked her what's the deal with the food being missing. She said she threw out my dog's food and fed him bread instead. My dog isn't even supposed to have gluten. It makes him itchy. She then got in my face telling me the dogs are happier living a vegan lifestyle. I told her my dog would be happier with her living a lifestyle outside of my home, and told her she had 8 hours to get her stuff and go to my mother's. I went out to buy more dog food, and once I returned, not only was her room a wreck, but my dog was gone. I called my mother to explain the situation, and asked if she had a dog with her, and she exploded on me again about how awful I was for not supporting my sister, and that the dog was not at the house with her. A mutual friend of ours let me know she had a dog at my mother's house. However, my mother and sister continued to spin the story to our family, and now they all refuse to speak to me, especially since I had the police help me retrieve him. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister stay in my home despite pushing her vegan lifestyle on me and my pet? Edit. I was starting to feel conflicted on if I really was being sick and overdramatic for kicking out my sister in need, or if my family really does just enable her. And just to be clear, the dog is safe. I made sure to note I got the police involved, and the dog is currently with me. Edit 2. For more clarification, since people keep asking, my sister and mother only have a 15-year age difference. They're more like friends than mother and daughter. My mother would do anything to please her. I, on the other hand, was born after my father died, and my mother held some sort of resentment to me, which is why I left the home at 18, while my sister stayed until 22 years of age. I didn't have much contact for a while, but when I heard she needed help, I thought this would mend things. Obviously, it did not. It made my relationship with my family worse. They are both vegan, and it also seems they told other family members that I shoved or hit her, which never happened. I am considering fully cutting ties. However, I am worried since she knows my home address. Edit 3. She didn't stay at my mother's because she was housing my aunt and her children for Thanksgiving, which of course I was not invited to. I saw my sister on Facebook saying she needed a place to stay, and this whole big long sob story, so I took her in. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. Crazy vegan breakdown aside, someone who messes with your dog is someone not worth being around. Holy cow. As a vegan, the sister is a complete and total a-hole. She seems desperate to gain control after her breakup, and is misusing her ethical stance to exert control in her new environment. It's not about animal welfare, it's about being in charge. I don't like the meat aisle, but I don't damage the grocery store in a fit of rage. The sister and the mom need to buzz off. Can I be pressed charges for dog napping? Not stay home. Dogs are happier vegans. Dogs are naturally carnivorous. Your sister doesn't know squat. She had no right to touch anything of yours in your own home. Some nerve. Think we know why her relationship broke down. There's a huge case of entitlement and narcissism here. She believes her beliefs and circumstances allow her complete control of her environment when she's a guest, and in complete contradiction of being a good guest. She dog-napped an innocent doggo. It's obvious where she was enabled, the people who are defending her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my wife selfish and ungrateful when she suggested we cut back on saving for our son's college, rather than spending for her entertainment? I, male 29, work full-time to support my son, 15 months old, and wife, 28. She's unemployed but is a stay-at-home mom, and we're both happy with that, usually. Recently, money's been tight as I haven't been bringing as much home. I work in sales on commission, so I've been trying to figure out how to make ends meet while looking for a better job. We spend about $60 a month on a 4 to 5 streaming services, HBO/Netflix, etc. And my wife spends about $50 a month in mobile games, and over $100 in ordering lunch through Uber Eats. I wouldn't mind if we could afford it, but right now we can't. When I brought up cutting back, she said streaming services and mobile games were the only breaks she had from working at keeping up the house and caring for our son, and ordering out made lunchtime a break instead of more work for her. I asked her to please stop ordering out, and to get rid of some of the streaming services or the mobile games. She said that's silly, and it was the hair dye and teeth whitening I paid for that was why we're short each month, and I shouldn't be so vain and to give this up for the family. I spent about $150 for them every few months, and if it was just me that'd be one thing, but I get both done for work. Believe me, I wish it wasn't the case, but people are just more open and friendly with me when I'm not a ginger dude with brown teeth. I don't want to have to do it, but I feel I have to, so I'm on a level playing field. I said she had plenty of time to relax when I got home, since I always cook and clean up after dinner and take care of our son until bedtime. She told me that doesn't mean anything when she can't do the things she enjoys, as if she didn't enjoy spending time with me, and that we would have plenty of money if I didn't put $200 a month away for our son's college fund. I reminded her we agreed to this before our son was born, and that if we didn't keep at it, we weren't going to have enough when he turns 18. She said we didn't even know if he wanted to go to college yet, and that I had no idea how hard it was raising a child. I have plenty experience feeding and changing diapers, and that her work at home is just as stressful as my job, if not more. I might be the a-hole already, but this is the part that really stuck with me. I said she wasn't grateful for the work I was doing, and selfish to think of her own entertainment over providing for our son. She snapped back at me that I was being abusive both emotionally and by trying to withhold money. And at that point, I was just floored and walked out. I'm hiding away in my home office now. She's never said anything like that to me before. And to be honest, I don't really know what she means as far as withholding money, since I've always given her what she asks for, as far as I can remember. Is it really abusive to cut back on spending? Did I go too far? Edit. I wasn't very clear on the Uber Eats thing, so for people asking questions, I don't know exactly how much it is, as I haven't ever added it all up, but it's 3 times a week, so between $100 and $400 a month. Also, I appreciate you all for taking time to share your thoughts. Not day home. $50 in mobile games a month? The heck is that all about? There are games you can buy for $10 and play for hundreds of hours. Introduce her to Stardew Valley or Minecraft or something. Uber Eats is just a goddamn scam. Get rid of that BS immediately. Tell her to rotate streaming services. I doubt she's watching HBO, Disney+, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Hulu, enough each month to make each of them worth it each month. I rotate them on a monthly basis. 1 month is HBO month, next is Hulu month, next is Disney month, etc. Don't sacrifice your kid's future for you or your wife's momentary pleasure. Not day home. Get rid of Uber Eats. That one is fair. You bring a lunch to work and so does your wife. Uber Eats is such an expensive and so unnecessary. Deleting the app saved me money. No, you're not abusive and she should apologize for saying that. You're trying to keep the family financially afloat, not blocking her access to money. Tell her half the game's gotta go, but the streaming services are needed as a parent. How else do you drown out your children screaming and playing? There are games that don't cost money monthly. You cut back too. Also, if being a stay-at-home mom is too much for her, she can go to work 40 hours a week and cover daycare. I appreciate how hard staying home can be, but sometimes that extra $400 to $500 a month they can make above and beyond childcare costs can be a night and day difference to household finances. Plus, she gets time out of the house. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for confronting my friend and ruining our kids' friendship? Okay, I'll try to keep this short. So I have this BFF, 40s female that is man-hungry. She picks these men who are all sorts of wrong, is a serial wife, and legit flip-flops from one ex back to the other, and plays them against each other. She constantly comes for advice, and I've gotten to the point of telling her that I think she's making a mistake, but I'll support her no matter what. I always felt she's a good person, it means well, but kinda screwed up in a few things. No big deal. She has 2 kids my kid's age, and they were super close. We were like a little family. We were always together. She randomly last minute asked me over a summer to watch one of her kids for a week due to some work conference. I was in the middle of a house renovation and sharing a room with my kid. I wanted to help, but it was impossible. I felt awful and I told her no. But then I tried to help by seeing if the conference she was going to had a Zoom option, which is when I found out there was no conference at all. She was very specific with immense detail that then proved easy to double-check. Her ex lived in a neighboring state. I never told her I knew, but then she kept giving me details of her trip that proved that she was in fact going to a state and not where she said. She texted at the airport, she texted me about events in real time, and none of it was true. I was super disappointed that she lied and tried to manipulate me with a working single mom angle instead of just being honest. But in the end, I decided to never let her know that I knew. She kept lying about the trip after the fact too, which pissed me off, but I tried to big picture it that our kids were besties. And she was probably embarrassed, so just let it go. Flash forward a few weeks to her wanting to get her kids some passes for something that we had passes for. But my passes were restricted, so I had one last day to upgrade them so we could go together. I spoke to her a lot about the cost, made sure she was buying them, then upgraded to the tune of $300. Every time I tried to make plans, there was some lame excuse. Then she started pulling away, canceling plans, etc. Every time I tried to make plans for these tickets, there would be another excuse. Like one kid's birthday. Let's use our ticks. No, they're grounded. Then she takes an impromptu road trip with them to the zoo and posts it on Facebook. Gave me some lame excuse that it was last minute. Whatever. Final straw was she canceled for my kid's birthday party. She said her kids were sick. Then I see them on Facebook at the beach. So finally, I confronted her and told her I was upset she lied about a party. She then said, I'm not a liar. To which I then just snapped and unleashed a barrage of, like the passes you said you bought? Like the conference that you never went to, etc. We never spoke again, and now our kids don't either. I feel so badly that this mom drama ruined our kids' friendship. Am I the a-hole for confronting her? Edited to add. Time frame was we were friends for years, and the trip lied to my kid's birthday was roughly a month and a half. Not the a-hole. Your kids will make new friends, and so will you. I do feel sad that I was so wrong about her, and truly cared for her and was there for her in many different ways that were outside my comfort zone. But I have a full life, and cutting someone out when I'm done is pretty much my go-to. I have another friend who pretty much gets past everything with everyone, and they all find a way to heal and move on. I don't know how to do that, and sometimes I wonder if I should learn. But ultimately, I really don't want to. Wondering if it's healthier? I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it. Not the a-hole. She's a fake and a flake. You probably saved your kids heartache later on. You'll probably find out that they didn't like this woman or her kids all that much. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boss no to working weekends when my coworkers don't? I got hired for this salary job where they really hyped up the work-life balance and reasonable hours and job interview. Like the way that they never expect people to stay late or work on weekends or holidays. That turned out to be BS. My boss got my personal phone number off my resume from when I applied, and after not long, he was blowing up my phone on nights and weekends, asking me to come work. I'd always not answer. Then when he'd ask on Monday why I wasn't answering my phone, I'd pull out my work phone like, sorry, are you sure you had the right number? I'm not seeing any missed calls. I'd often say called my own cell, so I'd say that I don't really use it much. I leave it home a lot. And when I do check, I've usually got like 40 missed calls. And my voicemail is always full, so I probably miss stuff unless I'm expecting a call at a certain time. And that if he needs to reach me, he should try my work phone because I'm very careful to follow up on any call to that within one business day. He asked me how he could reach me outside of 9 to 5, because he sees I leave my work phone on my desk at night and over the weekend. I said that honestly, I'm not glued to any phone on the weekend, so if he needs me to take a call on the weekend, could he make it a meeting request and put it on my calendar so I know to be available? Or if I know I won't be available to take a call, I can suggest an alternate time to call. He said that wasn't really gonna work for him. More often things come up last minute, and when he calls people on the weekend, it wasn't planned. And that is not calling for a teleconference meeting, he's calling asking people to come in. I said that on the weekends, I usually have commitments that were made 1 to 3 weeks out, and I'm not often able to cancel a previous commitment with under a day notice. So if he needs me in on a weekend, it'd be best if he could schedule that 3 weeks out, so that I know not to make conflicting plans. He said that wasn't possible, and I said okay. He could try and reach out and I'd answer the phone if I heard it ringing, but I wasn't always on the phone, so I might not catch it always. Anyway, I've gone back to ignoring his calls, and my coworkers have gotten kind of frustrated with me saying that coming in on weekends is part of the job, and that I wasn't pulling my weight. I said that I don't know what job they signed on for, but in my job interview, I was promised regular hours, and took my pay based on regular hours, so I'm working regular hours. My coworkers got frustrated, and said that if everyone did what I was doing, nothing would get done. I said maybe nothing should get done then, if it's coming at the cost of y'all not being home for dinner with the family. I don't really think my coworkers see it as an option to say no, so they're angry at me because I'm doing it and they're not comfortable doing it. Am I the a-hole for not working evenings or weekends? Not the a-hole, but I'd start looking for a new job. This is the answer. I oftentimes don't get why people come to the sub with the work stuff. I mean, some interpersonal issues between people at the same level make sense. But when people have issues with their boss, or the company, or HR, or something, I just don't get it. Because you can be not the a-hole all day, and it means absolutely nothing, since you're still the one who is going to lose the battle. And Opie will absolutely lose this one, bearing them being so great at their job that they're irreplaceable, which is unlikely. Not the a-hole, but be prepared to be fired soon. Your coworkers and boss are going to be looking for any reason to get you in trouble. And if you are on probation, expect to be let go. I know it sucks, but that's the way these companies bootlickers work. Good on you standing your ground, and shame on the company for lying to you about the job. Would I be the a-hole for throwing out my in-laws and sister-in-law out of my house? I have been thinking about this all week, but my moral just keep battling with my head on this matter. I, 23 male, married my wife 24 female last year before the whole pandemic fiasco. I was lucky to not get affected by the pandemic and got the order of alternating between working at home for 1 week and coming to the office on the next one, which works fine by me. My sister-in-law, 34 female, and her husband, however, are not so lucky. Both of them got fired from their job because of cost cutting, which forced them to move in with my in-laws. Around June last year, I came home from work to find boxes and bags in the living room and saw my niece and nephews running around the house. My wife pulled me aside and told me that her family got evicted from their home and have nowhere else to go, so she invited them to come stay with us, without my permission. I was furious, but figured that it is not worth fighting over, especially when they are already here, so I let it slide. My wife promised that her sister and brother-in-law would try to find a job as soon as possible, move out with my in-laws, and reimburse me for the food or any other necessities that I provided for them. Months go by, and there's no sign of them even trying. My in-laws also look like they are in no hurry to find some way to move out or find somewhere else to stay. They treat my home like it is their own, since they begin putting away some old decoration on the excuse that it looks tacky, before putting up their own taste of decor. I'm starting to feel like they're just using me for my money, since I'm the one who paid for everything, including phone bills. I gave my wife an emergency card to be used, but she misused it for her family, so I took it back. Earlier this year, I confronted them about when they can move out, and they flipped out on me. My in-laws have the audacity to insult me by saying that my late grandparents literally hand me down everything I have now, and how I should not have any problem with them living with me for the foreseeable future. Just to be clear, the house belongs to my late grandparents, so it means so much to me. They literally put me as the sole inheritor to everything they own, including their savings and life insurances. I got angry and left the house. My wife has been texting me non-stop ever since, telling me to come back and apologize for trying to kick her family out of my house, and how selfish I was for putting money over family. I reminded her of her promise, and she hung up on me. My guilty conscience keeps telling me that I should just let them live there, since they are my wife's family and my in-laws are old now. But I am tired of having to deal with the stress from both my high-stress job and at home. So would I be the a-hole for throwing out my wife's family out of my house? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, your wife is. Don't get me wrong, your in-laws are also, but your wife shoulders the majority of the blame for this situation. That's true. They might be thinking if she doesn't have a problem, then all is good. And what the heck is up with her husband since the house is a woman's domain? Some people think like that, and given they have her decorate, clearly they think if it's okay with her. That's exactly it. She invited them to move in without even discussing it with her partner. She is enabling them to take advantage of her partner by defending their terrible behavior. She is allowing them to treat her partner's family home like it is their own property. Yes, it is also her home, but it is his family's home too. Then treats her partner as if he is being irrational by not being okay with being taken advantage of. She is the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You won't get them to move out. And your wife has shown she will be on their side rather than yours. And you won't get them to move out as long as she's fighting for them. You will either win or lose this. And if you lose this, you lose everything. So kick them out. No dawdling. Get a lawyer, get an eviction notice, get them out. But do not move out yourself, because that can be seen as you abandoning the property and they could claim squatters' rights. And their daughter might back them on it. The longer you let them stay, the harder it will be legally to make them leave. So start now and go hard. Squatters' rights I've never heard of, so it's probably the US only. We don't really know where Opie lives. We don't have such things here. I could legally report them to the police for trespassing, including my wife, but that would be too cruel, I think. Not a-hole. When you get married, you create a new family that you prioritize over your existing family. But your wife is choosing to be a sister first and a wife second. Furthermore, she is expecting you to foot the bill for her family's shenanigans without your consent. You have to choose between being your wife's doormat or standing your ground. I would say kick them out as soon as possible and get a lawyer. Your wife's family is so entitled to your stuff, and your wife just does whatever they want. I wouldn't put it past them to entertain the possibility of getting half your possessions in a divorce, since they can't just live there for free anymore. We signed a prenup before marriage, thanks to my coworker's suggestion, so she would get nothing from me unless we had a child together. Wonder if your coworker smelled trouble in the horizon? Everyone tried to warn my sib not to marry a particular person, but sib thought it'd all be okay. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my wife help her sister? My male 31 wife, female 29, has a half-sister that I don't get along with for several reasons. For example, her sister ruined my wife's wedding dress 2 weeks before the wedding after she went to try it on without consent. She stole her car and hid it for days, hoping that she keeps it. She also lied to the family about me being inappropriate towards her. Her mom always backs her up and expects my wife, and now me, to take it. When we announced my wife's pregnancy, her sister lied and announced that she was pregnant, but it was awkward since everyone knew about her inability to have kids with her husband. She moved to our town and she started calling my wife to come help her move stuff into her new place. But the problem is that my wife is 7 months pregnant. She suffers from medical issues and needs to be careful. I told my wife to be careful. She said she had to help, and her sister calls to say she needs help with small boxes, but my wife ends up carrying heavy boxes and furniture. I offer her sister that she hire movers, but she said no need, just a few things, but she's been saying this for days. I offered to help out myself instead of my wife, but she argued with me, telling me to stop trying to control my wife. Yesterday, sister-in-law called her to invite my wife for tea. I went with her although her sister didn't want me. Once we sat down, she asked my wife if she could help her move boxes upstairs. The boxes were big. The staircase was long. I told my wife not to help. I didn't let her. It's not safe and something might go wrong. Her sister blew up at me, telling to stop controlling my wife and tell her what to do. I argued with her about how inconsiderate she was being of my wife and the baby. She just laughed it off, calling me overdramatic and that the baby will be fine. She insisted my wife help her, but I wanted us to leave. Her sister started calling me names while being nice to my wife. I took my wife home, and her stepmom called to berate me for what I said and did earlier. She told me to stay out of my wife's and her sister's relationship, and called me an abusive jerk for trying to stop my wife from helping out her sister. Her dad agreed, and told my wife she needed to stop letting me dictate her interactions with family. My wife defended me, but still didn't see anything wrong in her sister's behavior. In fact, she felt guilty for not helping. I refused to apologize after they pressured me. Not a-hole. I recommend r/just no mother-in-law or similar subs, as they can sometimes have good tips for helping spouses recognize that they're being treated like absolute crap. You need to have a very serious but empathetic. She's lived her whole life like this. It's gonna take more than one convo. Series of conversations that explain how inconsiderate and borderline, if not outright, abusive her family is being to her. Then, you guys really need to go no contact. It's not safe for your wife and child now, and it won't be in the future. Remember to support her as best as you can. I hope things work out well for you and your wife, Opie. Best of luck. Not a-hole. You weren't raised in this mess, so you can see clearly. Your wife, though, not so much. When you grew up with crazy, you don't really understand what everyone else see until you remove yourself from it. Not a-hole. Am I the only one thinking the psycho half-sister is trying to force a miscarriage? You're not alone. Seriously, I thought the exact same thing. I thought that too. Scary. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepson he can't stay in my house? My stepson, age 24, is getting kicked out of his apartment because he doesn't want to pay rent anymore. His roommate found another tenant and asked him to leave. He asked if he could move in with me and his mom, and I said no. Some background. He's a 24-year college graduate who works part-time when he decides to work. I helped pay for his expenses while he attended college, and I feel like with him being 24, it's time to man up and at least attempt to provide for yourself. Me not allowing him to live in my home means he would have to move from Miami to Illinois to live with his dad. He insists that he doesn't want to move, but he also refuses to get a job. Me and his mother try to explain that you have to work in order to get what you want. We've sent him job postings, and I wrote his resume. I even added a little fluff to the resume to help him get interviews. He would get interviews, in some cases make it to drug testing, but would forget to take his test. So needless to say, I'm done trying. Or so I thought. Fast forward to this week. He calls with his sub-story about getting kicked out for non-payment. I tell him he can't stay in my house because he refuses to work. I can't imagine working 10 to 12 hours a day, while a healthy college-educated man sleeps till 1 p.m. and parties all night on my dime. So, because I care about him, I offered to buy him a plane ticket back to Illinois. He refused because he doesn't want to leave his car. According to him, he's put too much money in the car and he doesn't want to leave his belongings. Okay, I offered to rent him a U-Haul truck with a trailer as a one-way rental. He refused, saying he doesn't want to drive. According to him, the only option is to live with us. At this point, I'm done. So I flat out say no and get back to Illinois the best you can. Am I the a-hole? By the way, his mother says she agrees with me, but I can tell she wants to let him stay. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I was thinking it would go another way. But no, totally not the a-hole. I hope your wife backs you. If she wants to let him stay, she might be open to manipulation by him. That's the mom in us. Biology won't allow us to let our offspring starve and fail, even if it's because this bird is too lazy to go get the worm. I understand the sentiment perfectly, but I'm gonna push mine to fly away regardless. It's the only way they learn how to fly. I like the empty nest. There's less crap on the floor. If he moved in with you, you'll have to get eviction papers and police to drag him out. You know it. Even his mother knows it. You gave him options, and he rejected them all. One last thing, a final offer, a gas card with enough money on it to drive his car to Illinois. Not the a-hole. I think once he's sleeping in his precious car and eating at the local soup kitchen, he'll get the message that no one but himself is going to help him. But the moment they let him in, he's going to be like a barnacle. Not the a-hole. Once he's in, he's there for good. You've offered him all the help he needs to rectify his homeless situation. Does mom perchance give him money that dad wouldn't? Yes, she spoils him. His dad already said he's got 30 days to get a job if he comes. And there it is. Of course, he wants to stay where he can mooch off mom. Mom agrees with you that he should live with dad, but she's the very reason he doesn't want to. Of course, it might be fraught with danger telling her this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents to ask for permission when coming to my house? A little context. I, 22 female, just graduated from uni and had to move back home with my parents because of the pandemic. Our house has 2 stories. The ground level is getting remodeled, so my parents can move downstairs and I get to live upstairs alone. Now, the entire property legally is under my name. That was my biological mother's decision. She died of cancer when I was 1 and my dad remarried when I was 3. To go to me instead of my 2 older brothers who are now all moved out and have their own separate lives. When I moved back home, I asked my parents for some financial help with bills and utilities, because I was unable to find a job that would pay enough to support all expenses. They told me they would support me for 2 years until the other house is done being built, and until I find a good enough job. Now, yesterday, I found out that once my parents move out from my house upstairs to move to their house downstairs, they intend to keep coming in and out of my house as they please, even when I'm not at home. I mean full-on unlock the door, barge in uninvited, take what they want whenever they want without asking for my permission, or letting me know they took something. I told them that they aren't allowed to do that, and that they should inform me if they will be coming over, or if they want to get something from my house when I'm not at home. My mom, my stepmom, then got incredibly angry. Kept saying that I'm being ungrateful, and I'm overstepping my boundaries, and that since they help me financially, they have every right to do that. I keep insisting that I am not being ungrateful, and that this is a matter of respect and boundaries. I don't intend on coming to their house without permission, and neither should they. My mom has a bad habit of constantly going through my stuff, even my phone before I put a password on, and coming into my room without knocking. She can be very controlling, and this is exactly what I feared would happen if I decided to move back home to my home country, which I had to do because of the pandemic. I told her that if they intend to do that, then I will change the locks to the house doors. She got very upset and said that I'm being disrespectful, that she's hurt, and that she will stop supporting me. She also said that it's up to my dad now to choose what to do about this. So, am I the a-hole for threatening to change the locks and prohibiting them from coming to my house even though they helped me financially? Not the a-hole. Your mom is forcing this situation but not respecting your boundaries. She needs to understand that relationships with adult children are not the same as relationships with young ones. Good luck. Thank you. You were right about the relationships part. It can be hard sometimes to accept that, I guess. Not the a-hole. If your name is on the title, tell her if she removes financial contributions, you'll evict them. That should shut her up. Thank you for the reply. I don't think I'd like to be that harsh, to be honest, as they're still my parents, and I would hate myself if I did something like that. But I'm considering renting out my portion of the space and moving out to a smaller flat. You need to be prepared to do this. Is there a rental agreement in place, or are they just going to be living rent-free? I know they are your parents, but you should seriously consider drafting up some legal agreement so everyone is clear on expectations and what happens should you decide to move, etc. I mean, what's going to happen if you marry and have children? Will your place be big enough? If you want to move and sell this place and there's no rental/agreement in place, things are going to get very messy. I honestly did not even consider all of that. Usually, we just fight our way through conversations like that. But genuinely, this has been one of the most enlightening comments till now, so thanks for bringing this to my attention. I didn't even consider drafting a legal document like that, but I think it might be of real help. Thank you.